Howdy, and welcome into Lane Change. I'm Keith Lane, and we're joined today by a very special guest, a great man, Mr. Chad Minter. Chad, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here, and I've been looking forward to this conversation because, you know, for what we're doing in this podcast, I think your perspective is certainly unique and enriching, and I'm eager to share with the audience a little bit about your story. So if you would, just share a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience. What's your name? Where do you live? And what's most important to you in life?
So I'm Chad Minter, and I live up in the panhandle of Texas in Plainview, just north of Lubbock, about an hour or so. And really what's most important to me, I think, is my family. First and foremost is my family and God, just keeping them first and trying to keep them first at all times. So, yeah.
Well, that's a great background into your character, and I think it probably sheds a lot of light on a lot of the story you've got to share. So if you would, I always tell folks, we're the sum total of our life's experience. Talk to us, if you will, about early in your career.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up? Yeah. How did you get into what your first career was? Talk a little bit about where you went, how you started off, and what you did.
So I grew up in a small town in East Texas of about 6,000 to 7,000 people called Crockett. Mm-hmm. And out of high school, I was really confused as to what I still wanted to do. I thought, I was supposed to get out of high school, graduate, and have that career decision at that age, which, as you know, is not how that usually works.
That's right.
So I took a little time off, and then I went to college at Sam Houston State in Huntsville. And again, after graduating there.
What'd you major in?
Just a business degree there.
Just a business degree, okay.
And I did sales through college. I worked part-time at a local auto dealership and just tried to learn people, tried to learn, social skills, how to deal with people. And
Sure.
And obviously it's gotten me through this far. So I guess it worked. But no, out of college, I was still confused.
Yeah.
And so took a job and worked there for a while and really wasn't happy with it and didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I was young, my father was just a general aviation pilot. Mm-hmm. So just went up and rented little Cessna 172s to fly. And I did that a couple of times with him when I was young. And so had always had some sort of infatuation with the planes. And
Yeah.
so after much debate, decided to go to flight school in the Houston area.
Pursue a career in aviation. That was your intent.
Yes.
Okay.
And so got into flight school, went through all my flight training and worked my way up to a flight instructor there and taught at that school after I finished for a couple of years before I was able to get over to the regional airlines and start my
So that's, you're talking 2, 3, 4 years easy.
Yeah, I was 3 years into it.
Okay, 3 years.
Yeah, but it can be done a little quicker than that. I guess I worked part-time through that, just trying to make it through. So, and a lot of people can do it full-time. I just didn't have that opportunity at that time. So worked part-time, and a little over 3 years I was finished. Not long after 9/11, I went into flight instruction at that school, and after 9/11, all the airlines quit hiring. Everything shut down.
Wow.
A lot of the pilots were let go. Some of the newer pilots were let go just because of really what was going on with the industry. It shook everything up.
Sure.
And so took me a little longer to build my total time for the airlines at that point. So I was probably, by the time I left, I'm sure I was that teacher or that instructor that had enough of saying right rudder, right rudder. So,
hey, a better right rudder than pull up, right?
That's true. That's very true.
So you went into the flight school track.
Mm-hmm.
The goal from the outset of that was to
End up
land, no pun intended, at the airlines.
Yeah. Yes.
So fast forward to that. You finally get your crack at flying the big stuff.
Yes.
Talk about that for just a minute.
Well, that part of the job was actually great. The airlines as a whole was great, working for them. Flying the airplane was great. Dealing with the passengers, maybe not so much, but everything else was great. Started traveling a lot. When I got there, I was, at that time, Continental had a base in Cleveland, Ohio. And so being the rookie, I got stuck in Cleveland, Ohio for a year or so before I could build up my time to get back over to the Houston area,
Sure.
where there was a base of what we had.
Sure.
And so, I was flying, was traveling a lot. I was single, so it was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't think about having to go and come home and wife and kids. And then I met my wife one weekend when I was back in town in Houston. I met my wife. She was a recent graduate of A&M in her first year of law school.
Wow.
And so I continued for the airlines while she went to law school, finished law school up, and she took a job in 2008 for a local firm about 15 minutes or so from where we lived.
Okay.
And so, I was happy until I wasn't, I guess.
Sure.
Company did start wearing on me a little bit, and then as my wife and I got more serious in our relationship, with marriage and kids and thinking about the future and maybe this is the one, I thought how traveling all the time and being gone all the time for my kids was something that it was really going to affect me. I didn't want that. My father was military when I was young, and he traveled a lot when I was younger, and so there was a lot of that I missed out on.
Sure.
And so,
well, I tell you what, that's a neat epiphany. It's neat that it was those God, family, country type of things that were wearing on you. So it wasn't that you necessarily stopped or lost your love of flying.
No,
as much as it was maybe your priorities were shifting.
Correct. Yes. Priorities started shifting, and I just decided after long discussions with my wife and considerations, I decided maybe it just wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. It took probably longer than I should have before I decided to resign, simply just because you go through all that training and all those years, and here you are now down the road for a career type job, and you don't want to really, I guess, it seems wasteful, right?
Well, it's got to be
like you've wasted your time on all this for something that you didn't end up doing.
I mean, you think back on those years of your life, that season of life, and it must have been interesting, flying at 35,000 feet, 500-600 miles an hour, and your heart's back in Plainview at that point, right? I mean, is that where she was?
No, we were still in Houston.
You were still in Houston.
Yeah, we still lived in the North Houston area in the Woodlands, and so just leaving and coming home on the weekends and only getting to see her on the weekends, that wore on me, as it is. And then the thought of having kids and starting our family and me still having that lifestyle for the next 30 years or 40 years of my life was something I started to take more into consideration than in the past.
So you were sitting in that moment, you were successful by every measure, and yet you could see where your heart was, where your mind was. You knew that there was a irreconcilable difference there between the track you were on and the track that maybe you felt led to pursue. Yeah.
Eventually that's where it ended up going. It's funny because it was a great career, and every friend and every stranger that I met thought that was just the coolest thing, especially at that age. I was in my mid to late 20s, and here I am, a young airline pilot flying an airplane with all these people, and of course you always get the jokes when all the passengers are coming on, can this kid fly? And so, really, it just, everybody thought I had the coolest job in the world.
Yeah.
But me.
Well, as you and I get more gray, it's funny. I've had that phenomenon. You get on an airplane, it's like the pilots are getting younger and younger. Yeah. So, but I guess that's the way. That's part of aging gracefully, right?
Yeah.
I've been told that's aging gracefully is an oxymoron. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. I want to be a good steward of your time and everybody's time.
Sure.
So, as you began to have these thoughts, you began to figure out. Talk to me about the season, the time. The period of time when you really you realized, okay, this is it. I can't stay here. I've got to change. Talk to the audience about what were the inhibitions or the restraints in your mind. What were the things? What were going on? What were people as you begin to talk to your family? I would assume you and your fiance started talking about it.
Yes, correct.
Walk us through that season. I find that for people who are contemplating a lane change, having walked this path myself, and so many people we have sit at this desk. That is a important inflection moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I would guess from my own experience, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No.
Walk us through that inflection moment in your life in quick, 1 or 2 minutes.
We had several conversations over a couple of years just about it. And of course, my fiance at that time was finishing up law school, and that was her career. And I knew that she wasn't going to change lanes, and she wasn't going to change careers. And rightfully so. She had earned that to be there. That's what she wanted, kind of like where I was with the airlines. So that was probably the toughest pill to swallow, is that both of us were in a really career type position that takes extra schooling, extra funds to get there, right? And so deep consideration. And so in 2008, we were still in the Houston area, and it was, I believe, August, and it was Hurricane Katrina. And so during Hurricane Katrina, of course, we had several days off and flying out of the Houston area where the whole airport was just shut down. And then so once we went back to flying, we were just really busy for a long time trying to catch up. And I think that's when really I came home after that and told my wife I thought I was done.
Wow.
And so made some phone calls and continued to fly for a while until I could get some ducks in a row to finally accept that and swallow that pill and go, okay, this is the decision I want to make.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, that was also the time after the hurricane when the airline I was flying for offered what's called a COLA. A company offered leave of absence. And basically, instead of laying off a bunch of the airline pilots, you can take a 6-month leave of absence. You keep your seniority. You keep everything that you had. You're not employed by them. You are still employed by them, but you don't work for them for 6 months.
Sure.
And I had one of a really good friend of mine that I had met in the past several years prior to that. Had a business in the Houston area and had offered me a job. And it wasn't the first time he offered me a job, but he said it would be the last time. And so when that COLA came up, I had a safety net. I take this, I can try it for 6 months. If it doesn't work out, I go back to work for the airlines. I'm still employed by them.
Stick your toe in the water.
And so, yeah. And so at the end of that 6 months, when I took this offer, at the end of that 6 months, the airlines offered it for another 6 months. So I ended up taking it for a full year and working for this company in the Houston area and just loved it. Loved what I did. Right. I loved the sales side of it. I loved talking to people every day.
It was a sales-related job.
It was a sales-related job.
Okay.
And so I got out and got to talk to people every day and meet people, and it just, I'm a people person. I love talking. My wife tells me, you don't meet a stranger. And my kids, both.
I can vouch for that.
Dad just talks to everybody, everywhere we go. And so anyways, in a nutshell, I took that job for a year, and at the end of that year, I felt all that pressure had gone.
Sure.
All the relief from was it the right decision had gone. And so I officially resigned.
Wow. So I want to transition. So we've got the beginning, we've got the decision point there, and then ultimately you found your way to financial services.
Correct.
Talk about how you found your way there. How did you leave things in the sales job that you left the airlines to take? How did you go from that role to financial services? And then talk about what you've done in the time since.
So the sales job I had, I took that job for about 8 to 9 years, I believe, when we still lived in the Houston area. And I just grew, I grew into a sales management position. And so
you were at home in the evenings?
And I was home every night, sleeping in my own bed every night. Marriage came, kids came, and all of that felt great. And to this day, I never regret not being able to be there when my kid was born or watch my kids grow up.
Amen.
And so that's something that I think that speaks a lot.
Well, and again, I want to, round things out and talk more about the financial services thing, and then the move to Plainview, talk about that. But again, as just as a sort of a recap on that critical place that I find a lot of people are. I know you do too, because we both talk to a lot of people for a living.
Correct.
When people are in that moment where they don't feel peace with what they are, what they're doing, where they are, they feel, unsettled. The decision to actually do something. If they don't have a COLA situation, the COLA made it easier for you.
A lot easier.
You
Correct.
look back and you still recognize a decisive change was necessary.
Absolutely.
A decisive change ultimately happened.
What that was going to be.
I think a lot of people, when they find themselves in that situation, it's hard to take that first step, because that first step is it's woefully scary.
Absolutely. Especially with, like you said, without the COLA, I think it would have been a lot harder for me.
Yeah.
But we wake up every day and we go to our job, and you really should. I know we've heard this 1,000 times, but your job should be a passion. It shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't be miserable going to work every day. It should be something you love to do.
That's right.
Whether it's helping people or sales or anything, you should love your job.
Yeah.
And so it would be a lot more difficult if I didn't have the COLA. But that being said, I think that's what causes people to not pull that trigger a little sooner.
Yeah.
And really burn out.
Yeah, I find that different.
Burnout.
I personally have found that different things are the spark that causes the flash that makes the decision to go.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been months, if not years, of contemplation leading up to that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important point for folks to take out of these conversations, to take from your story, Chad, is the fact that whether the situation is ideal or less than ideal, if you've got that burning in your gut, telling you, man, I don't know that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
It's worth listening to, right? I mean, is that what you would say, reflectively?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think people will fight it for a while just because.
Yeah.
People don't like change. That's the unknown. Everything about it is scary. You don't know what's going to happen, sink or swim, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you fail, then you feel like, or it didn't work out, and you feel like it was the wrong decision. But I think 9 times out of 10 it works out.
And especially when you also add to that decision matrix that you had the things that were driving you, or driving that unsettling feeling in your gut, was the fact that you wanted to keep your priorities right.
Sure.
Right? I mean,
yes.
You've maintained faithfulness to your priorities. And talk to us now about that. I mean, where has it led you? Y'all ended up moving back to Plainview?
So my wife and her family were from Plainview, and so as Houston grew, we decided that it was time to make a decision. Do we move further outside of the Houston area and stay in our jobs that we had, or do we just pack up and move back to where she's from? And after another 2 years of contemplation and traffic, getting stuck in traffic so much, I just decided to come home again. I came home one day and said, I'm ready.
So what's interesting to me about your situation is that really there was that second decision to leave Houston to go back to Plainview
was big.
That was not a small decision.
No, all of my family's in that area. My brothers, I've got 3 brothers that lived in that area at the time. Yeah. My parents lived in Huntsville at that time.
Yeah.
And so, all within an hour to an hour and a half's drive. And so that was probably the toughest decision. Was I was leaving everything and everybody, all my friends, all my college friends that I had ever grown up with or knew.
But the second decision probably retrospectively was an easier decision, having made the first jump already.
Yes,
the first step,
correct.
The first step is the hardest step. That sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
man, you're just saying that's as true as the day is long, right?
It is. And if you look at the reason why I ended up doing both of those was for my family. The decision to leave the airlines was for my my future wife and kids. And the decision to get out and really get into an area where my kids would have better one-on-one at school. So we wanted a smaller school system, and that meant a lot to us. And that my kids would grow up in a better area.
And you're a God-fearing man, so I'm sure you were praying like crazy too, right?
I'm still praying.
That's good
every
advice.
day. Every day.
That's good advice. Good advice. All right, so close this out here. So how long ago did y'all make the move back to Plainview? Just give us a snapshot. Where are you now? What's she doing?
Sure.
What are the mentors and
so
just give us a picture.
So 9 years ago we moved up to Plainview, and my wife immediately started her own private practice there in town. And so to this day she still has the private practice as well. She's an assistant DA, as well as she's a county attorney in the adjacent county.
Wow.
And so she puts her hat in at the end of this year for district judge, so that'll be fun.
Wow, man.
So me moving up there, and then the industry that I was in Houston, in that market, there wasn't a market up there for it.
Sure.
And so my wife's dear family friend had a independent agency of insurance there in town. Mm-hmm. And just went and had lunch and talked to him for a while, and just picked his brain and wanted to figure out if that was the right direction. I had thought about it for a while when we moved up there, and I just saw it as a good opportunity. It would keep me into helping people. It would keep me into getting out and seeing people all the time, everything I like to do. And the freedom to go out and sit and talk to people in their own living rooms was pretty cool, and on their own time.
Yeah.
And so, I started working for an insurance agency locally there in town, and did 7.5 years with them, and decided to go to work for a different company. And so I made that move not long ago, and here I am.
Man, what an awesome story. And at this point in your life, all the things that you learned early in life about people and sales and relationships, those skills that you proved early on that were good and natural to you, are the things that are the backbone of what you do now. You're really not, you technically work in sales, but it's all about consultation and relationships and that kind of
100%.
stuff.
100%. We don't really see it as sales. I think we get up every day and I think see it as how we're going to help someone that day, how we're going to help them and educate them on their finances and
it's neat.
get them where they need to be.
Good people can figure that out quick, can't they?
I think so.
If you're real, they figure that out.
so.
I love that. Well, it's a testament to who you are, and I appreciate you taking time. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.
Well, be safe. Be safe traveling. Get back to that family, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for dialing into Lane Change. Bye-bye.